Naomi Ellis arrived at the Grand City Symphony Hall, her heart racing both from anticipation and the brisk walk up the steep incline towards the entrance. Her simple blouse clung to her skin, slightly dampened by the effort it took to maneuver through the bustling city streets on her way. The more polished, traditional attire of the other musicians and staff stood in stark contrast to her casual approach. Inside the symphony's opulent walls, the golden glow of chandeliers reflected off the polished wood, casting an almost ethereal light as musicians tuned their instruments, creating a tapestry of sound that filled the air. Naomi took a moment to absorb her surroundings, her senses keenly aware of the delicate balance of sights and sounds. Around her, the symphony's staff and patrons exchanged subtle glances, their raised eyebrows and pursed lips communicating a silent judgment about her appearance. To them, she was an outlier in this sea of elegance. Victor Lang, the symphony director, stood at the center of this well-oiled machine, exuding an air of arrogance and self-importance. His sharp eyes fell on Naomi, misinterpreting her understated presence. "You there," he called out, his voice carrying authority that he presumed undisputed. "Yes, you," he repeated as Naomi met his gaze. "Be a dear and set up the folding chairs in the rehearsal room. And do try to smarten up a bit. We like to maintain certain standards here." Naomi felt the weight of his condescension but chose not to react, a quiet steadiness in her eyes. She nodded politely, offering only a neutral, "Of course, I'll set those up right away," before turning and heading towards the administrative offices with a calm, unhurried stride. Naomi's footsteps echoed gently in the hallway as she moved past Victor, her cool demeanor never faltering under his presumption. She headed directly to the administration office, her walk purposeful and unhurried. She had no intention of setting up chairs, nor of correcting Victor's erroneous assumptions. As she pushed open the thick oak door labeled "Administration," she breathed a momentary sigh of relief at escaping the watchful eyes of the symphony's staff. Helen Marks, the HR director, sat waiting at her desk surrounded by files and papers. The lines of her kind face softened as she looked up, recognition lighting her eyes. "Naomi. Welcome," Helen exclaimed, standing to offer a warm handshake. "We're thrilled to have you on board at last." "Thank you, Helen. I'm excited to get started," Naomi replied, her voice steady yet genuinely enthused. A knowing smile played at the corners of her lips, a silent acknowledgement of the scene she had left behind in the corridor. Helen seemed to catch this glimmer of amusement. "Did you find your way through the corridors all right?" Helen asked, gesturing for Naomi to take a seat. "Yes, everything went smoothly," Naomi assured her, a twinkle in her eye as she settled into a plush chair. "Though I met Victor Lang in the hallway and took the liberty of making a certain first impression." Helen laughed softly, aware of Victor's notorious arrogance. "I bet that was enlightening. He's, well, set in his ways." Meanwhile, Victor, feeling smug from assuming he'd put the new girl in her place, made his way around the rehearsal area, casually boasting to his assistant about the encounter. "It's absurd, the type of help we have these days." She didn't protest, just scampered off to do her task, he sneered, a self-satisfied smirk affixed on his face. His assistant nodded along dutifully, though less interested than Victor believed. The events from the hall fueled their conversation, allowing Victor to relish in what he believed was a reinforcement of his authority. In the administrative office, Helen and Naomi continued their discussion, the air between them light but focused. Naomi outlined her vision, guiding the orchestra to embrace innovation while preserving its rich history. She spoke with conviction about fostering an environment that cherished the musicians and inspired them to explore new depths of their art. "Your background speaks volumes, Naomi," Helen remarked, glancing over Naomi's file. "The board was incredibly impressed by your performances overseas. Leading the Dresden Philharmonic was no small feat." Naomi nodded, her demeanor modest but confident. "It was an unforgettable experience. Though I hope to bring a fresh perspective while respecting the traditions that have shaped this symphony's identity." They discussed logistics and upcoming performances, settling details of Naomi's introduction as the associate conductor. Naomi would be leading one of their most challenging pieces of the season, Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Her eyes brightened at the prospect, her mind already orchestrating the score's intricate details. As Helen prepared to wrap up their meeting, she assured Naomi that everything was arranged for her formal introduction to the orchestra that afternoon. "Everyone will finally see who you really are, Naomi. Including Victor." Minutes later, Naomi left Helen's office, making her way to the staff lounge, where she took a moment to reflect on everything that had unfolded. The upcoming announcement was crucial, not just for establishing her authority but also for tempering Victor's pompous attitude. The time for the big reveal approached swiftly. The symphony hall buzzed with anticipation, the musicians settling in for what they thought would be a routine staff meeting. They gathered in the spacious main rehearsal room, instruments in tow, the hum of casual conversation filling the air. Victor lingered at the back of the room, his presence looming even when silent, chatting intermittently with younger musicians. Naomi entered quietly from the side door, drawing only a few glances, primarily from those unfamiliar with her face. She slipped into the room seamlessly, not officially acknowledged yet but undoubtedly aware of her role. Helen joined her briefly, nodding in reassurance. When Helen stepped forward to address the musicians, the room quieted, all attention turning to the podium. Her voice, clear and authoritative, resonated through the hall. "Thank you all for gathering here today. We have an exciting development to share," she began, her smile reaching the back rows as she surveyed the crowd. Victor shifted slightly, arms crossed, as Helen continued. "It is my pleasure to introduce you to Naomi Ellis, our new associate conductor. Her experience leading esteemed orchestras across Europe will be invaluable to us." A ripple of surprise washed over the audience, eyes darting to where Naomi stood, now revealed as the new face of leadership. Victor's face blanched, his previous smirk vanished in a blink as he processed the revelation. Naomi stepped forward, poised and unapologetic, her gaze sweeping the room with calm assurance. The orchestra's initial shock gradually shifted to a respectful acknowledgement. The musicians exchanged glances, silent reassessments occurring as they took in Naomi's presence. What little they knew of her hinted at an illustrious career filled with lauded performances and groundbreaking achievements. Victor, still grappling with the sudden turn of events, clenched his jaw, his earlier bravado now a distant memory. He recognized the waves this change could bring for him personally and professionally, his instinct to maintain his influence now uncertain under Naomi's shadow. The orchestra members found their postures changing, curiosity and respect replacing their former indifference or skepticism. They leaned forward slightly, awaiting Naomi's words with genuine interest. Naomi paused, momentarily allowing the room to settle, before she addressed them. Her tone was thoughtful yet assertive, laying the groundwork for a journey she intended to embark on with the orchestra at her side. "Thank you, Helen, for the kind introduction, and thank you all for the warm welcome. I look forward to diving into our work together and will strive to honor the rich legacy of this symphony while embracing new possibilities. Together, we can harmonize tradition with innovation." Her words, heartfelt and eager, cast a new energy into the room, bridging the gap between her initial arrival and the role she was meant to play. As she spoke, Victor's sphere of influence subtly shifted, the dynamics that had once been in his favor now recalibrating around Naomi's composed authority. As the musicians and staff settled into the main rehearsal hall, chatter buzzed like background static, yet there was a palpable anticipation beneath it all. Whispers circulated about the woman now introduced as their guiding force, the new associate conductor who had seemingly emerged from obscurity to steer their symphonic journey. The auditorium, lined with acoustically polished wood panels and accented by an artful play of shadows and light, seemed a fitting stage for this crucial assembly. The musicians held instruments poised as if ready to respond to an unseen signal, catching glances at Naomi who, though officially poised at the podium, wore an air of approachable composure. Victor Lang loitered at the rear of the group, confidence chipped but not entirely shattered, maintaining a veneer of his habitual aloofness. After the initial surprise of Naomi's introduction, he found himself sequestered for a private meeting with the HR director, leaving Naomi temporarily to captivate the room in his absence. The HR office felt strangely constrictive to Victor, a juxtaposition to his usual domain of expansive orchestral space. Helen Marks sat opposite him, the authority of her title subtly permeating the conversation. Her tone was professional, though there was an unmistakable firmness to her words as she explained the boundaries of appropriate conduct. "Victor," she began, "your interaction with Naomi this morning was noted, and it's crucial to establish a respectful dynamic moving forward." Her gaze was steady, unyielding. "We expect professionalism at all times, especially towards our newly appointed associate conductor." Victor stifled a protest, his usual rebuttals tempered by the seriousness of the moment. He nodded curtly, maintaining his composure, though an internal reckoning simmered beneath his well-polished exterior. Meanwhile, in the rehearsal hall, Naomi took a deep breath as she addressed the assembly. Her voice, though soft, carried the weight of newfound leadership, imbued with the conviction that characterized her artistic vision. "I understand the importance of balance, between tradition and innovation, discipline and creativity. That's the balance I hope to achieve with all of you." The musicians listened intently, their earlier skepticism replaced by intrigue. Naomi spoke with a respect for their shared craft, inviting them to journey with her rather than dictating from above. Her presence filled the room as she navigated through the introduction, touching on her past experiences without overshadowing the future she envisioned for the symphony. "There are no boundaries to what we can collectively accomplish," Naomi continued, her passion evident. "Each of you brings a unique voice, and together, we will create a harmonic tapestry that resonates beyond these walls." Victor rejoined the group mid-sentence, his footsteps quieting as Naomi delivered her remarks with a warmth that seemed to melt residual biases. He took a place among the musicians instead of hovering apart, his gaze steady but contemplative, as if weighing his next steps within this altered landscape. As Naomi continued, she shared anecdotes from her time abroad, leading some of Europe's most venerated orchestras. Her humility and humor were evident, weaving into her narrative tales of unexpected challenges and triumphant performances. She spoke of spontaneous applause erupting from audiences worldwide, the universal language of music breaching barriers and uniting spirits. The musicians' interest deepened with each story, aligning their trust with Naomi's enthusiasm. Even those who had been dismissive found their stances softening, drawn to her authenticity and the sincerity of her passion for their craft. After the meeting, as the orchestra dispersed for a brief intermission before rehearsal, their excitement murmured through like a current. Naomi remained by the podium, meeting individual musicians as they introduced themselves, each exchange forging new connections. Victor watched from a distance, grappling with the unexpected shift. His accustomed dominance ebbed as Naomi engaged with the team, yet a pragmatic instinct recognized an opportunity lurking within the new dynamics. Perhaps his role was due for a revision, not the least as a survival strategy but also a chance at redemption. In quiet interludes, Naomi reflected privately on her strategic introduction. Her choice to enter unobtrusively had been deliberate, designed to gauge the natural rhythms of the orchestra and its dynamics. The morning's events served as an inadvertent exercise in revealing underlying perceptions, a sometimes humbling reminder of human tendencies towards snap judgments. When the rehearsal commenced, Naomi stepped onto the podium as though slipping into a well-known dance. The baton felt natural in her grip, a conductor's extension as she lifted with assertive poise. The room seemed to hold its collective breath, anticipation binding them together in the shared silence preceding the downbeat. The opening strains of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony swelled into the magnificent space of the hall, shaping the air with crescendos and releases like a tide. Under Naomi's guidance, the orchestra articulated each note with clarity and conviction, her directions fluid and precise. A shared reverence for the music's power resonated throughout, binding musicians and conductor in a silent pact of artistic fidelity. Even Victor found himself drawn into the performance's momentum, acknowledging Naomi's expertise with begrudging respect. The rehearsal swept on, the occasional pause allowing Naomi's feedback to illuminate potential refinements. She focused the orchestra with gentle authority, her insights coaxing nuances that elevated the performance. As the final notes resonated, a hushed awe lingered briefly before applause erupted, appreciation as much for Naomi's leadership as for the music itself. Musicians exchanged congratulatory words, the earlier formal meeting now a launching pad for genuine camaraderie. Observing silently, Victor approached Naomi as the room emptied, a guarded acknowledgement simmering beneath his demeanor. His words were direct, though not without a note of newfound respect. "Nicely done. I see why they chose you." Naomi met his gaze, offering a half-smile. "Thank you, Victor. There's much we can achieve if we work together." They shared a brief, civil nod, the moment charged with the possibility for recalibrated roles. As they exited the hall, the orchestra abuzz with renewed purpose, Naomi sensed the contours of her leadership beginning to solidify, a foundation for the symphonic journey ahead. As Naomi settled deeper into her new role, it became clear that her presence had initiated a profound transformation throughout the symphony hall. The ripple effects of her leadership style extended beyond her authority at the podium. Staff and musicians alike began to note subtle shifts within the atmosphere, a growing openness, a symbiotic exchange of ideas, and a shared sense of belonging that eclipsed previous hierarchies. Days turned into weeks, each rehearsal cementing Naomi's connection with the orchestra. Her approach to leadership was rooted in collaboration, her directives encouraging musicians to explore their own interpretations while remaining truthful to the score. This engagement allowed creativity to flourish, the colors of their collective talent painting each piece with a distinctive vibrancy. During an orchestra meeting, Helen Marks took a moment to address the group, expounding upon Naomi's illustrious past achievements. "Naomi has not only led distinguished orchestras but has also contributed significantly to advancing music education initiatives globally," Helen articulated with poise. She recounted how Naomi orchestrated transformative projects in underserved communities, bringing music appreciation and training to young talents who had never felt the embrace of a violin's strings or the power of their own, untested voices. Helen continued, "Her leadership doesn't just rest on her undeniable talent but in her ability to mentor and inspire growth among her peers and protégés alike." Naomi listened with humility, gratitude sparking within her as Helen outlined the very principles she held dear, those which had guided her throughout her career. Under Naomi's guidance, the symphony took on ambitious programs. The challenges were met with an earnest enthusiasm underpinned by mutual respect, and Naomi's unique vision blossomed, weaving fresh threads into the symphony's storied tapestry. Despite the initial resistance from some quarters, the music began to speak for itself. Each rehearsal added a layer of depth, the musicians' interpretations converging harmoniously as Naomi's baton punctuated the air. Her ability to balance meticulous precision with emotive expression brought the repertoire alive, generating palpable energy that resonated well beyond rehearsal rooms. Victor, ever watchful from the sidelines, started to perceive the facets of Naomi's governance he had initially underestimated. The orchestra's renewed spirit was infectious, challenging long-held traditions and assumptions, including his own. Privately, he acknowledged Naomi's finesse. Professionally, he strove to integrate her cooperative methods into his own routine. One evening, Naomi invited Victor to join her for coffee after rehearsal. The meeting was unexpected, but Victor welcomed the prospect of dialogue away from the spotlight. They sat in a quaint cafe nearby, the intimate setting fostering an atmosphere of honest exchange. "I appreciate the chance to talk," Naomi began, her sincerity cutting through the pleasantries. "I'd like us to collaborate more closely, Victor. Your experience with the symphony is invaluable, and together, I think we've got much to offer." Victor, initially guarded, found himself gradually disarmed by Naomi's earnestness. They discussed the evolution of the orchestra, sharing candid insights about leadership and vision. Victor expressed his apprehensions, particularly around the traditions that had defined his career. Naomi listened intently, bridging their perspectives with her nuanced understanding of legacy and innovation. The conversation, both reflective and forward-looking, nurtured a newfound respect between them. Victor realized Naomi had no desire to diminish his contributions. Instead, she sought to expand upon them, welcoming his insights as integral to the symphony's growth. Their exchange exemplified the broader changes unraveling within the hall's cultural fabric. Naomi's ethos, one of humility and genuine curiosity, resonated deeply, anchoring a reinvigorated identity for the orchestra. As preparations intensified for the upcoming gala concert, the ensemble worked amicably, a testament to Naomi's unifying influence. The event promised to draw an illustrious crowd, their expectations high for a performance heralding the symphony's next chapter. The night of the gala arrived with electric anticipation. The grand hall, aglow with chandeliers and adorned with fine etchings, was filled with patrons and supporters. Guests mingled, conversations alive with expectation as they took their seats. Backstage, the musicians prepared in their own hushed cadence, individually tuning their instruments, their rituals comforting amongst the flurry of activity. Naomi moved among them, offering a calming presence amidst the pre-performance nerves. Her words and gestures conveyed encouragement, a collective reminder of the unparalleled beauty they were about to create together. As the house lights dimmed and the stage curtains parted, Naomi climbed the podium, her silhouette commanding respect and admiration alike. Silence enveloped the hall, each breath held in anticipation of the opening note. The music commenced under Naomi's baton, a fervent cascade enveloping the audience, sweeping them into a world both familiar and wondrous. Each movement was executed with precision, the symphony casting a spellbinding narrative that unfolded with authenticity and grace. For Naomi, the culmination of their hard work was not just about achieving technical excellence, but about fostering connections through music that resonated with power and purpose. The performance crescendoed to its final movement, concluding in resounding applause and approving ovations. Exiting the stage, the musicians beamed, buoyed by the audience's palpable appreciation. The performance had not only met but surpassed expectations, affirming their collaborative effort and shared triumph. Naomi's eyes met Victor's briefly amidst the congratulations, both acknowledging the journey that had brought them there, a path paved with mutual recognition and newfound camaraderie. Helen joined them, her smile wide. Tonight was a benchmark, Naomi. Something truly special. Naomi responded with modest gratitude, knowing that the evening's success was a testament to the entire orchestra's dedication and resilience. As the gala's post-performance revelry unfolded around them, she felt a serene assurance in the bonds that had been forged. Her role now firmly established, Naomi walked through the symphony hall with the quiet confidence that had defined her journey, an assurance that resonated in every note she would continue to conduct. The symphony, under her leadership, was poised to explore new heights, each harmonious chord a reminder of their collective potential. In the days following the gala, the symphony basked in the afterglow of its success. Conversations buzzed with renewed excitement throughout the halls, and each musician seemed to carry a lighter, more purposeful step. The air was infused with the promise of new opportunities, and Naomi's influence was palpably etched in every corner of the symphony hall. As Naomi prepared for an upcoming meeting, a gentle knock interrupted her reflection. It was Helen, her expression both amiable and businesslike. "Naomi, do you have a moment?" she asked, stepping inside. "Of course, Helen, come in," Naomi replied, placing her notes aside. Helen closed the door softly behind her before addressing the subject at hand. "There's a matter concerning Victor that needs resolving. Given the turnaround we've experienced under your leadership, it's important we address his earlier conduct." Naomi nodded, understanding the gravity of what was implied. Despite Victor's gradual shift towards collaboration, accountability called for closure on previous missteps. The symphony's board had requested a meeting with Victor to reinforce the new standards of conduct under Naomi's leadership. They believed a formal reprimand was necessary, not only to rectify his initial treatment of Naomi but to establish a precedent for mutual respect across all roles. When Victor received the notification, he faced the prospect with a mix of apprehension and resignation. The label of conceit he had worn so proudly now felt like a burdensome cloak. Acknowledging his mistakes became an inevitable part of the journey towards a harmonious workplace culture. The meeting itself was brief, direct yet respectful. Victor accepted the board's feedback with an introspective demeanor, recognizing the scope of what Naomi had accomplished since that first misjudged encounter. He realized that this reckoning was not about diminishing his value but about ensuring the symphony's collective integrity. Concurrently, the orchestra's response to Naomi's leadership had matured into a widely extended embrace. Her initiatives fostered an inclusive environment where talent and curiosity thrived, breaking through previous silos of ego and elitism. Musicians approached each rehearsal with invigorating zeal, their interpretation of compositions becoming more nuanced with each interaction. Naomi's mentorship extended beyond music and performance, inspiring personal growth and cultivating environments where music transcended the confines of technical prowess. Her efforts paved paths for musicians to unleash their potential creatively and personally, fostering journeys of individual excellence within a symbiotic whole. In recognition of the progress made, a meeting was arranged between Naomi and Victor, an opportunity to align their visions moving forward. Victor approached this meeting with a sense of quiet contemplation, understanding its significance in the grand tapestry of their shared work. They convened in Naomi's office, where the atmosphere was infused with gathered respect and possibility. Victor, candid in his introspection, began, "I've been reflecting on my approach, a humbling lesson, if I may add. Seeing you guide the orchestra has reshaped my perspective on leadership." Naomi listened, appreciative of his honesty, recognizing in his words the sincerity of a colleague willing to evolve. "We've come a long way since that first day," she acknowledged, the warmth in her tone underscoring the journey they had navigated together. "The symphony's potential is boundless, Victor. Your experience is crucial in shaping the path ahead." Victor nodded, the genuine exchange marking a turning point, solidifying an unspoken pact to foster unity and excellence. Their collaboration was no longer one of two competing forces but a partnership envisioned to elevate artistry and innovation. Elsewhere in the symphony hall, musicians took note of the changes in the dynamics. Casual conversations often touched on the positive environment Naomi had nurtured, reflecting mutual support and encouragement. The youthful vigor of new members complemented the wisdom of veterans, and the balance they struck energized rehearsals with spontaneous brilliance. As a gesture of reconciliation and acknowledgement of the orchestra's growth, Naomi decided to host an informal gathering, an evening of music and camaraderie at the Symphony Hall. The plan was simple, an open rehearsal where everyone, including administrative staff, could share not just in notes but in friendship. Harmony characterized the evening, music flowing as freely as the conversations threading the room. Musicians shared stories, their laughter punctuating the melodies weaving the air. Naomi moved through the event with grace, her presence a quiet assurance amid the lively symphony of human connection. Victor, present but unobtrusive, found himself similarly touched by the evening's resonance. Witnessing firsthand how Naomi's leadership had inspired unity moved him beyond mere respect to a deeper willingness to advocate for her methods. In the final moments that evening, Naomi found herself crossing paths with Victor. They shared a silent moment of camaraderie, their nods exchanged acknowledging the mutual respect and understanding that now defined their relationship. "You inspired change, Naomi. This is something we've needed for a long time," Victor stated sincerely, the final exchange serving not only as an acknowledgement but an invitation to continued partnership. Naomi's smile was serene, appreciating the journey they had embarked upon. "It's been a privilege, Victor. I'm looking forward to many more endeavors together," she affirmed, her resolve embedded in every word. As the evening wound down, Naomi stepped outside the symphony hall, her footsteps echoing on the cobblestone path leading to the street. Illuminated by the city's glow, she paused to absorb the evening's chill and the stillness that followed celebration. Within the walls of the grand venue behind her, the harmony they had crafted resonated still, a new era marked by unity and an unwavering commitment to musical excellence. Naomi felt a profound sense of belonging and a readiness for the road ahead, confident in her leadership, moving forward with strength and vision. Her journey as conductor was only beginning, and with it, the promise of vibrant and shared symphonic achievements awaited, poised to echo far beyond the majestic hall.